The scene opens with a naked man entering a swampy location and becoming submerged therein. Laura is a hard-working woman who, as we see, has a solitary life in a busy city. Her professional achievement doesn't fully convert into her social success. Although it appears that she and her boss, Maxine, get along well, this friendship appears to be more on Maxine's part than Laura's. The protagonist likes to spend time alone in her flat with only too much wine and cocaine, as opposed to going out for drinks or socializing. When she invites her ex-girlfriend over, they get into a fight, leaving Laura by herself to relapse. She dances by herself while snorting cocaine, portraying her disjointed mental state. The day after spiraling into this the previous evening, Laura suffers the horrible repercussion. Her body gives into the overdose and collapses on the ground. We observe some black liquid flowing toward her and entering her mouth in what appear to be hallucinating sights. She is greeted by two hands that emerge from the bathroom's shadows. Laura somehow survives the experience and goes back to work the following day. When Maxine tries to assist because she looks dreadful and wonders if she's okay. Instead, Laura yells at her. She clings to her and apologizes right away after reminding Maxine about her daughter's passing. Laura left the workplace after quitting her job. However, this experience wasn't as straightforward as it seemed because, unexpectedly, Laura gets a call from her estranged mother immediately following this encounter. Laura decides to travel to her mother's home after these protracted 20 years after receiving a call from her mother for the first time in 2 decades. Laura feels that by going back to the isolated English village of Moorlinch Greinton, she will be able to finally tame the inner demons and reconcile with her mother. We quickly notice that the mother and daughter had experienced significant difficulties growing up. Laura is surprised to see how little Celia has aged like the majority of the village residents. There are enough signs to suggest that Celia was essentially a mother who abused Laura and would yell at her for any small annoyance, even though what transpired between them is never truly visibly presented. Celia insists that she never physically hurt Laura and that all she ever did was occasionally yell nasty words at her. Laura is furious at her mother's attempt to soften the blow of her actions. Abby, a young woman Laura's age, was the love of her life. When Laura first encounters Abby, she observes that only she seems to have aged. However, Abby feels disappointed and saddened because Laura simply vanished and departed for the city more than 2 decades ago without telling her anything. Additionally, Abby starts acting strangely and follows Laura around while phoning someone to report her whereabouts. We observe Celia frequently adding sedatives to the jam and water as she serves Laura. The first night Laura spends in the home, she appears to be dozing off due to the sedative. The same night, Celia drags Laura from her bed and the house and leads her to the garden near a shadowy, eerie room. But Laura awakens first, and Celia is able to get away from the scene. When Laura is fully awake, she discovers herself on their lawn by herself and suspects that she may have sleepwalked. While sorting through her belongings, Laura also uncovers her mother's private journal. From it, she learns that her mother had an extremely close relationship with men in the community and even rated her activities with them. Although keeping this to herself, the daughter subsequently brings it up in jest in front of Celia. This is not well received by her, so she tells Laura to leave the house. In actuality, she utilizes this as a cover for something bodily that is happening to her. Since the overdose-induced unconsciousness, Laura had experienced frequent episodes of a black fluid oozing from her nostrils. She now experiences this same gooey, black paint liquid during her period as well. The same dark substance has been displacing all of Celia's bodily fluids and blood as well. Later, it is revealed that several of the villagers also emit a similar black substance. Thus, it is evident that Laura's first sighting of the liquid during her overdose was not an illusion of any type but rather a true event. Laura had always thought that her father had drowned himself in a marshy lake outside their home just before she was born. But in reality, the man used to practice black magic and other similar dark covert arts, as we discover from Abby's father, Ken. The mother desired a child of their own after his marriage to Celia, but the pair was unable to conceive. So, in order to have a child, the father made the decision to commit himself in the murky pond. He forces a demonic, 6-breasted matriarch to descend and settle in the same town after interfering. Then, through Celia, This demon gave birth to Laura, who was raised as her own by the fictitious mother. After 20 years, the entire community had become wholly reliant on Celia's ability to distribute her power to them. Without the black liquid, they would all have aged rapidly and likely passed away far sooner. Laura sees this, as do we, when she visits the neighborhood church and observes her mother standing on a pedestal as the locals lick the dark milky substance off of her breasts. They then partake in what appears to be an orgy of some kind. It turns out that this liquid was a plentiful source of vigor and youth. After Laura left the community, her mother began to make money off of this liquid by selling it to the people in exchange for money and influence. The local priest, Abby's father, and his deceased wife were the only individuals who had resisted giving their souls to this wicked power. Laura was said to perhaps continue on the matriarch's bloodline by possessing evil powers since she was the off-world demon's offspring. But Celia thinks Laura needs to make amends to get her life on track because she has led a self-destructive existence. It has since been discovered that Laura had passed away that night from a drug-induced overdose, but the matriarch utilized her abilities to bring her back to life. According to Celia, the devil now desired to have her daughter come back to her. Laura knows now that the demon's beckoning brought her there in the end. She is persuaded by Celia to enter the storeroom where the hideous matriarch resides at the rear of their yard. She receives the sticky, dark liquid from Celia, which gives her power and ensures the village's survival. Ken tries to put a stop to everything because he used to think that his wife and daughter were similarly opposed to Celia and the villagers' actions because they went against Christian values. Later, though, he also learns that Abby had secretly swapped sides a few years previously because, like her mother, she also had cancer. Abby's illness was returning at the same time as the matriarch's dominance was waning, as Laura had not yet been transferred to her, and she was now assisting Celia in the sacrifice of her daughter merely to ensure her own survival. Ken stabs himself to death because he is unable to process everything. Laura is turned over to the matriarch. As opposed to what was anticipated, the matriarch lets Laura go without protesting her selfless effort. Now that Celia is the target of her retaliation, everything is put right for good. The monstrous matriarch's supply of dark water is cut off by Laura, who then releases her. She then brings Celia to the church and orders her to tell the villagers the truth, who are up on their feet pleading for the dark liquid. Laura hits Celia with a shotgun, shattering her skull into bits after learning that she still takes joy in her power. After doing this, Laura eventually makes her way back home by herself. Later, we witness her entering the same muddy pond behind their home and drowning there. What do you anticipate will transpire ultimately? Tell us what you think in the comments section below about if Laura would transform into a ferocious matriarch to provide for the entire village. As always, thank you for watching, and if you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.